If there's one thing I love in Guilty Gear Strive, it's Eno. If there's one thing I love about Eno, it's Jump Slash. Jump Slash, or just simply JS, is the Eno button. It can be an unreactable overhead, pressure tool, block swing and combo starter, combo extender, and a combo ender if you're bad and forget how to do all the actual routes that you spend hours coming up in training mode. So originally I was going to try and get back into video editing by doing a full-blown Eno guide, but then I realised that if I wanted to discuss everything I know about this character in a level of detail that I would be satisfied with, this video would take roughly 3 to 5 business weeks. Yes, I would take weekends off. So instead, I'm just going to talk about my favourite move. Megalo JS, as mentioned before, can be used in, let's just call it a few situations. For the purpose of this video, let's narrow it down to one specific situation. Point blank IHD JS on block. Okay, let's break that one down so that we're all on the same page. Point blank just means that this interaction is happening as close to the opponent as physically possible. Due to the way that Eno's dash works, this actually will have an impact on your frame advantage under certain circumstances, so I'm just going to conveniently ignore that. IHD stands for Instant Hover Dash. This is also known as Tap Hover Dash, Tap Hover, Tap Dash, Tap Dance, tap your card on the radar with like a bag with your new. And on block means our hypothetical opponent actually blocked high at the start. This isn't accounting for faultless defense or instant blocking because that once again adds way too many variables. So, with such strict conditions, we couldn't possibly have a comically sized flowchart for Well, let's get to breaking it down. But first, a brief disclaimer. I made this flowchart myself, so I fully accept that there could be stuff missing from it. This is only accounting for meterless options as well, because the flowchart is complicated enough as it is. So if you think there's anything that could be added to this, let me know in the comments. So, to start, you'll want to tap your dash macro, or tap forward twice, then press slash. So, from here you've got options. Congrats on getting here, by the way, you're doing great. I like to divide the options into the ones that go down, and the ones that go up. Okay, so as far as going down is concerned, you really only have one option. Landing, after JS, gives you access to 4 further options. 2K, a gapless low, close slash, frame trapping mid, walk up throw to catch people trying to mind their own business, and most importantly,
let's go gambling!
Starting off, 2K can always be linked into to create a high-low block situation that your opponent has to block correctly if they aren't willing to spend a resource to escape the situation. Close slash leaves a 1-frame gap, meaning that invincible reversals can escape the situation by pressing any other button and will lead to an incredibly high damage combo. If you're pretty sure your opponent isn't going to try and mash out, an 8-frame forward walk into a throw can break over the defense and give you Note Oki or an auto-timed safe jump. Lastly, you can just start all over again. When done perfectly, this is an 11-frame gap, meaning that this one can be punished quite heavily, but you know what they say about gambling. If you stop now, you're never going to pay off your mortgage. Both 2K and close slash Gatling into either 2D or 6H. Side note about 2K into 6H, if you don't return your directional input to neutral, you will get H-stroke instead of 6H. This isn't particularly tricky, but it is worth practicing. If either of these options are blocked, you can simply choose to end your pressure here. 2D is -7 and 6H is -8, but both leave you at a distance that makes punishing Eno directly quite difficult. However, if you want to take one last risk, you can go for any grounded special move, each with its own utility. S-stroke is a fast low. It has a 3-frame gap after 2D, is gapless after the first hit of 6H, but will whiff if used after the second hit. The 3-frame gap after 2D makes it throwable, and it is -7 on block and leaves you much closer than before, making you more easily punishable. The reward on normal hit is minimal if your opponent mashes out of the stagger, but if they miss the window or you land a counter hit, you can follow up with 2K 2D for a knockdown, followed by Note Oki or manually timed safe jump. Also on counter hit, if your opponent misses the fast recovery window, you can go for 6H at close range or JS with slightly further out to extend into a combo. This can net various rewards, not all of them will be more beneficial than a 2D knockdown, so choose wisely. H-stroke is a slower low, with bigger gaps, high reward on hit, and is unpunishable if blocked. This has a bit more of practical application after 6H because it will cover the distance created, just be aware of fast low pokes and throws. These can both be baited and whiff punished by delaying the H-stroke, but this in turn opens you up to even bigger buttons. MLA is a guard-crushing pressure reset on block with an 8-frame gap after the second hit of 6H and a 13-frame gap after 2D. Most anti-airs will work against it, notably 5P and 6P, but if your opponent didn't react fast enough or presses too late, you will get massive wall carry and good damage. Like with H-stroke, delaying MLA can dodge fast anti-airs like 5Ps and can whiff punish 6Ps, but this once again opens you up to bigger buttons. HCL can be used as a gapless ender if your opponent is stand blocking, but if they stay crouched, dash forward, or do any low profiling action, HCL will whiff and you'll be left -28 at best. Note can also be used as a form of pressure reset, giving massive frame advantage on block and potential combos on hit at certain ranges. The main drawback is the startup being punishable by any move that reaches far enough to hit Ino during the recovery. The projectile can also be jumped over or low profile under, but you can change the angle of the note to cover one of these options at a time, but never both. If your opponent isn't blocking anymore, either because they got caught with the 2k low or caught mashing by close slash, or they're just fully given up, your choice of follow-up here impacts the reward that you stand to get. 2D grants a very powerful hard knockdown as it leaves them at a range where Note Oki is at its strongest, or you can go for a manually timed safe jump. 6H gives you more choices. 6H into H-stroke also grants a hard knockdown but leaves them slightly further out than 2D. Note Oki is still possible here, but it isn't as consistent as it is on a 2D knockdown. Manually timing a safe jump still works the same. But if you're close enough to the wall and you have meter for an ultimate Fortisso or wall break, you might want to opt for a combo instead. Your exact routes will change based on stage position and what meter you have available, so here's a few options. Going back to the beginning of the flowchart, we have 4 other options to pick from here. First among them is a Gatling into JD. This acts as a double overhead and a frame trap, only losing it to invincible reversals and 6Ps. On hit, your opponent is floated, meaning they can block once their feet touch the ground again. On counter hit, you have enough time to land and link it to 2k or close slash, letting you go for hard knockdowns or full combos. I should note that the combos discussed here won't necessarily work the same due to the extra hit, so outside of the corner I would recommend just going for knockdowns. On a regular hit, by the time Ino lands, your opponent will have also landed, meaning they can block again, but you still retain 13 frames of advantage. From this, your only option for mix is 2k, which results in an invalid combo on hit and lets you continue pressure on block. On any hit or block, you can also go for a dive kick! But since a few options can wrap back into this, we'll talk about this one later. Your next option is to air dash cancel backwards if you want to. This is useful for calling out reversals and can lead to big damage. Another option is jump cancelling, either forward, neutral, or back. Backwards jump cancel is a good reversal call out if you're in the mood to. Forward jump cancel will cross your opponent up, which can catch opponents off guard if used sparingly. So originally here I had a whole section about how to actually do the cross-up, but it turned out to be way too complicated with too many moving parts, so I'm just going to skip that for now. Maybe I'll come back to it in a future video, who knows. From a neutral or forward jump cancel, JK or a second JS can be used for a fuzzy overhead, or F-Shiki for some of you out there. Happy Pride Month. JS can also be used to fuzzy overhead from a backwards jump cancel. On a forward jump, you can go for a cross-up, but you can only use JK as your crossover button. Backwards jump JS is a good option if you want to hedge your bets, and on any jump you can cancel the attack into a dive kick. Your last option from the initial JS is to go for a dive kick, which, okay, I guess we'll talk about now. You can either use K or S. Has it stopped? Okay, good. You can either use K or S dive. Oh, for fuck. You can either use K or S dive. Both versions travel at slightly different angles. K covers less horizontal distance and hits the ground sooner, making it slightly safer and preferable in situations where both versions will hit. S-dive will cover more horizontal distance, which makes it more ideal in situations where pushback is a factor. Ultimately, for the purposes of our hyper-specific scenario, K-dive is always preferable because there are certain outcomes where S-dive is punishable and K-dive is not. On contact with the opponent, you can press the K or S button again to leap out of the dive kick. When done immediately, K-dive leap is -2, S-dive leap is -4, and both leave you airborne by the time you become actionable again. This, generally speaking, leaves you safer on block than it would be otherwise. Okay, so the only exception I've found to this is if you use S-dive after IHD-JS, where leaping out of the dive actually loses a frame of advantage. This is because doing it this low is only -3, and 3 is generally considered to be a smaller number than 4 by those in the scientific community. I've done my homework. So, if the dive kick hits, you get a soft knockdown with around 30 frames of advantage, giving you enough time to set up a manual safe jump with a dash JH. K-dive leaves the opponent closer to you than S-dive, making this timing a little bit easier. If the dive kick is blocked, you are always going to be throw punishable. This is simply a sad fact of the universe. Hi, it's me again with yet another unscripted correction. Turns out there's actually 2 situations I've found that aren't throw punishable from K-dive. JS JD K-dive and JS backjump JS fuzzy K-dive. If the dive kick hits, but you leap, you get the same knockdown as before, but you actually lose about 10 frames of advantage by the time you hit the ground again, since you need to be grounded to properly set up Oki. If the dive kick is blocked and you leap, you can't be thrown, K-dive becomes pretty much fully safe, but S-dive can still be punished by specific characters. If, for whatever reason, the leap is delayed, both versions may become 5-frame punishable, so be careful. So, now you can read this one flowchart for this one button, for this one character, for this one specific situation. Are you going to use it? Am I? Probably not, but I just wanted an excuse to make a thing. Oh, but hey, check this out. I found another flowchart that actually includes meter options. Let's take a... This looks like it's for a...